Hey, what's going on, family? This is Andy Henriquez, and of course, I want to welcome you to the Thursday night show up for your life motivational live stream. I thank you so much for joining me, and of course, like always, I got a message for you tonight. I thank you so much for tuning in. We are going to be getting started just momentarily. This is a great time to grab a pen and notepad for you to go ahead and take some notes. If you got a friend or family member that you think should be tuning in, this is a great time for you to let them know as well. I'm going to go ahead and get the live stream going as well on Facebook Live. And I thank you so much for tuning in and joining me on the Thursday night show for your life motivational live stream. Hey, family, what is going on? This is Andy Henriquez. And of course, like always, I want to welcome you to the Thursday night show up for your life motivational live stream. Listen, this message tonight is specifically for you if you currently have a seed in the ground. And what do I mean by seed in the ground? You got a goal, you got a vision, you got something that you are currently working on that you haven't quite seen the results that you intended to see just yet, but you're working on it. You're trying to make this thing happen. You're trying to cultivate this thing. You're trying to make it grow. And so if that is you, I've got a message specifically for you tonight. And so what I'm hoping is that I'm going to help you and save you from experiencing some grief and prematurely forfeiting on this dream, on this vision, this very thing that you have. So do me a quick favor as you're tuning in, as you're jumping in and joining me on the Thursday night show up for your life motivational live stream. Just go ahead, if you would, in the comment section, go ahead and put in your city and, of course, your state so I could go ahead and give you a little quick shout out before we go ahead and get started. And so once again, this message is specifically for you if you currently have a seed in the ground. And so you said, well, Andy, what do you mean by a seed? I'm talking about specifically there is a goal, there's a dream, there's a vision, there is something specifically that you are working on. You've been hoping and you've been waiting on those results. You've been putting in the time, the effort, and the energy, and you haven't quite seen the results. Let me tell you right now, don't you throw in the towel prematurely. Don't you give up on your goal. Don't you give up on your dream. I got something specifically for you tonight. So let me go ahead and say what's up to some people. Hey, we got Dr. Tracy Lynn in the house. Hey, Andy, cover your seed. That's a word. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I got a word for them tonight. So good to see you, Dr. Lynn. And of course, before we go ahead and get in, Baltimore, hey, what's going on, Darren? I see you tuning in from Baltimore. I want to thank you so much for tuning in on the Thursday night show for your life motivational live stream. As you know, we got three things going on right now, all at the same time. We got a YouTube live going on. We got a Facebook live going on. And we also have a conference call going on. We got to touch the people however we can. But this message is specifically for you. Listen carefully. This message is for you. If right now you're at a place in your life where you have a seed in the ground, in other words, there is something that you are working on, something you've been putting in the time, the effort, the energy, and you haven't quite seen the results that you are expecting and the results that you're waiting on. And so if that is you, listen, I got a message for you tonight. And what I'm hoping is that you are going to stay in the game and you're going to keep from throwing in the towel prematurely. As a matter of fact, what I'm hoping is that you're going to continue to flourish that goal, flourish that seed, that you're going to continue to cultivate it so that it can continue to grow. And so once again, this message is for you tonight. If right now you are in the process of growing a particular seed, you're growing a vision, you're growing a goal, you're growing a dream, I got a message for you tonight. So of course, as you're tuning in, do me a little quick favor. Go ahead and make sure that you go ahead and put in your city and your state so I could go ahead and give you a little quick shout out before we get started on tonight's Show Up For Your Life motivational live stream. And of course, as you can tell, I've got the earpiece in my ear because we've got some people who are tuning in right now on the conference call line. We got multiple things going on, but I can assure you we will be getting started. Hey, do me a quick favor too. If you know somebody specifically that has a dream, they got a vision, they got a goal, they got something that they're working on, let me tell you right now, you want to make sure that they hear tonight's message. So go ahead and do me a quick favor before we get started. Go ahead and hit the share button so we can make sure that whoever it is that you're connected to, whoever it is a part of the tribe, it makes sure that they actually receive tonight's message. And so once again, let me go ahead and give a quick shout out to a couple other people. Hey, CC Williams out in Orlando, Florida. What's going on, CC? Thank you so much for tuning in tonight's message. And tonight's message is called Let Your Seed Be Covered. And so once again, tonight's message is specifically for that person who is currently in the process of growing and cultivating a seed. And so you might be saying to yourself, well, Andy, what do you mean by a seed? I'm talking about a goal, a vision, a dream, something that you are working on, something that you have in the ground, and you've been laboring, you've been toiling, you've been putting in the work, you've been putting in the energy, and you've been trying to make this thing grow. And maybe perhaps you haven't quite seen the results that you are expecting and the results that you are anticipating. And I've got a message specifically for you tonight. And my message for you is this. I want you to get this. Understand this, that whatever seed you have right now currently in the ground, I need you to get this, that sometimes you have to allow your seed to be covered. And this is what I mean by that. You might be saying, well, Andy, what do you mean by that? Listen, I'm going to unpackage this thing for you real quick. And so I want you to just think about a seed, just in general. When we're talking about a seed, just so you know, in the context of this message that I'm sharing with you tonight, I am talking about a dream. I'm talking about a vision. I'm talking about a goal. I'm talking about something specifically that you are working on, that you have been laboring on, that you've been cultivating. You've been putting in the time, the energy, and the effort. And the reason why you're putting in the time and the energy and effort is because you are expecting that you are going to produce a result. Like you are expecting that this business is going to grow. You're expecting that it's going to go to the next level. You're expecting that you're going to eventually be able to step out there and do this thing that you've been called to do. You're expecting this book to get published. You are expecting to eventually find a significant other. You are expecting to get out of debt. I don't know what your seed is, but you have a dream. You got a vision. You got a goal. There's something that you're working on. You're putting in the time. You're putting in the effort and the energy, and you are expecting a harvest. You are expecting some results. And so here's what I want you to understand. What I believe kills so many people's seed, what kills so many people's vision, what kills so many people's goals is that oftentimes we want so bad to get the validation from other people. We want other people to sign off on our goal. We want other people to sign off on our dream. We want other people to sign off on our vision, that we want them to see it and we want them to validate it. And because of the fact that we want them to see it, and because of the fact that we want them to validate it, what we do is we remove the covering off of our seed so that we can absolutely show it to them. So we can say, hey, here's my seed. Check it out. Look at this business that I'm working on. Hey, look at my seed. Check it out. Look at this vision that I'm working on. Hey, look at this seed. Check it out. Look at this book that I'm working on. But here's what I want you to understand. Sometimes we try to reveal our seed prematurely. In other words, we try to show other people what it is that we're working on, and we're trying to get validation from them before it is time for them to actually see it. And by doing it, now we have put our goal, our dream, our vision at risk. And so let me help you to understand what I mean. I remember specifically when I was working in corporate America. I was working in corporate America, and I was working with this prestigious accounting firm. And there was a point in which I just sort of had this vision. I had this goal, I had this dream, and I had this desire to leave my corporate job and to figure out what my purpose and what my passion was. Now, I need you to get this. I found myself in a difficult place, because up until that point, I had done all this work to get this successful job. I had gone to school. I got an undergraduate degree in accounting. I got my master's degree in corporate accounting. Not only did I get my master's degree in corporate accounting, I studied like crazy for my CPA exam. I passed the CPA exam. I got my certified public accountant license. I landed a job with this amazing company. And so I had spent all this time to get to where I was at the moment. However, yet and still, even though on the outside, if you looked at my life, you would have said, you know what, by the world's means, this guy is successful. He's got an undergraduate degree. He's got a master's degree. He has a CPA license. He's working with a prestigious accounting firm. But yet and still, something inside of me was saying, Andy, there's got to be more than this. And it was during that conversation of me saying, Andy, there's got to be more than this, that there was a seed, there was a vision, there was a goal that was planted in my mind. And it was just at that time, it was just a possibility. And the possibility that I was entertaining in my mind was actually leaving my corporate job and stepping out there and trying to go after my goals and my dreams and trying to figure out what my purpose and what my passion was. But here's what I want you to understand. For about 1.5 years, I kept my mouth shut. For about 1.5 years, I said nothing about my dream. I said nothing about my seed. I said nothing about my vision. And you might be saying, well, Andy, why did you not say anything to anybody? I thought when you have a dream, I thought when you have a vision, I thought you're supposed to share it with people, right? I thought you're supposed to speak it out there. But here's what I want you to understand. The reason why I didn't share my seed, the reason why I didn't share my vision, the reason why I didn't share my goal with anybody yet is because I knew that I needed it to grow. I needed it to mature. I needed it to get some roots. And if I were to open up my mouth prematurely and even mention to other people that I was thinking about leaving my corporate job, or even mention to other people that I was thinking about leaving my corporate career, leaving all the time that I spent getting my undergraduate degree in accounting, my master's degree in corporate accounting, getting my CPA license, I knew that if I opened my mouth, if I literally tried to expose the seed, if I removed the covering, in other words, if I removed all the things that was protecting it at the time, because listen, when other people don't know about your seed, when you're working on it silently, then in that moment, guess what? Oftentimes it's protected. The moment that you expose it, the moment that you reveal it to other people, the moment that you remove the covering, right? That is when your seed is being exposed. And I had enough foresight, listen carefully, I had enough foresight to know that my seed was not mature enough to be exposed. I had enough foresight to know that I needed to build my belief system. I had enough foresight to know that I wasn't certain on the decision yet. And if I would have shared it with people before I knew exactly what it is and before I fully committed to the decision, I would have easily been talked out of it. You see, I would have had people who would have reinforced the fears that I was already experiencing. I would have had people who would tell me, well, you know, Andy, what if it doesn't work out? What are you going to do next? Because really, quite frankly, I didn't know what I was going to do next. Well, Andy, how are you going to replace your income? Really, quite frankly, I didn't know how I was going to replace my income. Well, Andy, how are you going to figure things out? I didn't know. I literally did not know. And so if at that time I would have been telling everybody, hey, you know, I'm thinking about leaving my job here at PwC. Hey, you know, I'm thinking about leaving my career as a CPA. Hey, you know, I'm thinking about figuring out what my purpose and my passion is. I'm thinking about leaving everything that I've worked my past, like 5 years of my life, getting my undergraduate degree, my master's degree, my CPA license. And I'm thinking about leaving all of this to go after my dream and my purpose and my calling. I understood that if I would have exposed my seed, if I would have exposed the idea, if I would have exposed the vision, if I would have exposed the goal prematurely, it was not mature enough and I would have easily been talked out of it. And so what I need you to understand is this: there's something that you are currently working on that you need to keep undercover. There's something that you are currently working on that you need to continue to allow it to mature. There's something that you are currently working on that you need to continue to invest time, energy, and effort in it. And you need to be comfortable with the fact that you're working on something that other people cannot see and that other people cannot validate. You got to validate it yourself. Listen to me. Listen carefully. Sometimes when it comes to your goal and it comes to your dream, you have to co-sign on it yourself. In other words, you got to validate it yourself and stop trying to expose everything that you're doing to other people seeking their validation. Because oftentimes when you expose what it is that you're seeking to do, you are also not just exposing it, but you are making it vulnerable to other people talking you out of it, to other people criticizing it, to other people telling you why it's not going to work out. And so sometimes you got to let that seed be buried, allow it to be covered, allow it to mature, allow it to get some roots and some foundation before you open your mouth and begin to spread the news and let other people know what it is that you're working on. And you got to be comfortable with working on something, putting in the time and the effort while other people around you cannot visibly see what you're working on. I want you to think about this. I want you to just imagine you see a gardener right now, and they've planted some seeds in the ground. and you're watching them every single day, and they're getting out there and they're pouring water on top of the soil. They're pouring water on top of the seed. They're getting down there on their knees. They're pulling up the weeds, all the different weeds in the ground. You see them every single day. They're making sure that they pull the little rocks and the debris out of the way. You know, if you didn't know the fact that they had a seed there, you would think that they were crazy. But that person is still going to continue to water the seed and nurture the seed because they know that they're the ones who planted the seed. And knowing that they planted the seed is enough. They don't need you to validate the fact that that seed is in the soil. And so I need you to understand, we live in a world where everybody wants validation. Everybody wants everybody to see, like, look at me, look at what I'm doing. Look at what I'm working on. Looking at the success that I'm having. And because of the fact that we're such a social media driven world and we want everybody to co-sign and everybody to validate what it is that we're doing, many of us are putting out the things that we're working on prematurely, and we're allowing other people to poke holes in our dreams and poke holes in our vision, and we throw in the towel prematurely. And so sometimes you got to understand that you got to let your seed be covered. And you have to be perfectly fine and perfectly okay that other people don't necessarily need to validate your dream. In other words, you got to stop being so concerned with other people validating your dream. And ultimately, you got to validate it yourself. Somebody do me a favor right now. If you're starting to understand what I'm saying here, if this is starting to make sense to you, do me a favor in the comment section, put hashtag validate yourself. You see, sometimes that is the only validation that you need on this dream, this goal, this vision that you have. Sometimes the only validation that you need is not from your friends. It's not from your family members. It's not even from your spouse. It's not even from your best friend. Sometimes the only validation that you need is the validation from yourself. The belief system that this seed is worth growing. The belief system that this seed is worth putting in the time. The belief system that this seed is worth the time, the effort, and energy. And I know that if I continue to work on it, I know that if I continue to cultivate it, I know that if I continue to put in the time, I know if I continue to put in the work, this seed is going to break the soil. That's all that you need to know. And so what I need you to get, folks, here's what I want you to understand, that you literally have to get yourself out of this place of seeking the validation of other people and constantly removing the soil from your seed so that you can show it to people. Because every single time that you remove the covering from your seed, what you are actually doing is you are exposing it and you're putting it in a situation where it could eventually die. And so I want you to think about, how many times have you had a dream, a vision, a goal, an idea, something that you had? It just came to your mind, and you didn't allow it to really germinate. You didn't allow it to grow. You didn't allow it to fester. You didn't give yourself an opportunity to think it out. And you were so excited about this seed, this vision, this dream, that you right away, you opened your mouth and you told a friend, you told a family member, and before you could even fully get it out, right? Before you could fully explain this vision, before you could fully explain this thing that you wanted to do, they started to poke holes in your dream. They started to ask you questions that, quite frankly, you weren't ready to answer. They started to talk to you about, well, what if that doesn't work out? Well, how do you know that's going to work? Well, who's going to buy your book? Well, how do you know that that's going to work in your business? Well, what makes you think that you could do that? And so because of the fact that you exposed your seed, you exposed your idea, you exposed this thing that you wanted to do prematurely, what happened is they poked holes in it, and they poked so much holes in it that you began to accept their insecurities, you began to accept their ideologies, you began to accept what they thought about your seed, and you decided to throw in the towel, and you didn't even give your opportunity. You didn't even give your idea an opportunity to grow and develop. And so I need you to get that. I'm telling you, so many of us would be able to realize our vision, that we would realize our dream, if we would just spend a little more time working on it, developing it, without having to seek the validation of other people. And I'm telling you, I've had to watch this countless times in my life, and I've come to the realization that sometimes that when you are working on something, when you are developing something, that it is actually working to your advantage, that it is covered, it is actually working to your advantage, that many other people don't know about it. It's actually working to your advantage, that you don't have to necessarily show it to everybody. It's actually working to your advantage. And so ultimately, your only responsibility is that while others can't see it, you just keep putting in the work. While others can't see it, you just continue to water it. While others can't see it, you continue to protect it and you continue to pull up those weeds. And I'm telling you, at some point, you won't need anybody's validation. At some point, the thing that you have been working on will eventually break the soil. Not only will it break the soil, but it will begin to grow. Not only will it begin to grow, but it will be a blessing to you. But not only will it be a blessing to you, but it will begin to be a blessing to other people. And so, in other words, this thing that you have been working on, it is not only going to be something that you can benefit from, but it's going to be something that other people can benefit from. And at that point, there is no more need for you to have to try to showcase it, no more need for you to get the validation from other people, because it will speak for itself because of the fruit that it begins to bear. Right? As we all know, scripture says that you judge a tree by the fruit that it bears. I was just having a conversation with a dear friend, and we were talking about over and over again. It does not say by the fruits that it talks about, but by the fruits that it bears. And so sometimes we have to learn how to literally shut our mouth and just continue to put in the work and stop talking and sharing your dream and your vision with people who aren't even at the same level as you, people who can't even see the vision the way that you're seeing it, people who are immediately going to poke holes in your dream and your vision because it is too big. It scares them. And so why are you sharing your dream and your vision with people who can't even see things on the same level as you? Of course, they're going to try to bring your dream down so that ultimately it ends up being on the same level as them. I'm telling you, I've seen this reoccurring pattern in my life. And so I'm telling you, when I first made the decision where I was going to leave my corporate job and just go after stuff, I had to keep my mouth shut for a year and a half until I finally built up the courage in 2004. And I finally walked into that office. By the time I started sharing it with people, it didn't matter at that point because I had already made the decision. I had been sitting on this decision for a year and a half. My seed was covered for a year and a half. I was building up my confidence over that year and a half. I was convincing myself that I could do it for a year and a half. I was working through my fears during that year and a half. I was finding support system during that year and a half. I was working on my skill set during that year and a half. So by the time that I told people, it was already too late. There was no way that they were going to talk me out of my dream. There was no way that I was going to talk me out of my vision, because by that time it was a done deal. That seed had already been invested in. That seed had already been watered. That seed had already been worked on. And so I need you to fully understand this. If you can fully understand this, I'm telling you, you got something that you're working on right now that you're going to keep from allowing other people from tearing it down. Because sometimes you got to go in the lab, you got to shut the door, you got to put the do not disturb sign, and you just got to be willing to be in the lab and to be in the lab alone. And understand, if you go let anybody into the lab, you better trust and believe that they have the same level of commitment as you, that they got the same amount of skin in the game as you, and that they're just as committed as you. Stop allowing uncommitted people to validate your real commitments in life. Stop allowing people who are seriously not serious try to sign off on your dream and on your vision and try to tell you something that's going to work, whether it's going to work for you or not. They don't know. It's not their seed. It's not their dream. It's not their vision. It wasn't given to them. See, it was given to you. And because it was given to you, it is your responsibility to protect it. It's your responsibility to grow it. It's your responsibility to cultivate it. It's your responsibility to keep working on that thing and make that thing work in spite of what other people can or cannot see. I'm telling you, another time that I had to go through the exact same process. You see, when I first left corporate America, I'm gonna tell you right now, I didn't leave corporate America, knew right away I was gonna become a speaker and a coach and so forth. When I first left, I was investing in real estate and in the process of investing in real estate, I started getting heavy into personal development, and I was going to personal development workshops and seminars. And the more that I would sit down in the audience and the more that I would see people at the front of the room, I kept trying to tell myself, I said, man, I sure would love to be one of those people in the front of the room. I sure would love to inspire and motivate people. And I'm telling you right now, when I was around my close friends, even though I knew at that point I had this burning desire, even though at that point I knew the seed was in me, I still didn't say anything. And the reason why I didn't say anything was because of the mere fact that I knew that I didn't believe enough in the possibilities that I could make it happen. And if I would have exposed the seed prematurely, once again, they would have probably talked me out of it. Once again, they would have probably asked me a bunch of questions that I wasn't ready to answer. Once again, they would have probably projected their insecurities and the things that they didn't accomplish in their lives and start trying to convince me on why I shouldn't make it work. Let me help you to understand something. You got some people who are around you right now. They love you to death. They love you. They don't mean any malice towards you. But when you share your dream and you share your seed and you share the thing that you're working on with them, a lot of times they're still going to poke holes into your vision and your dream. And it's not because they mean you any harm. The reason why they poke holes in dreams, into your dreams and in your vision, into your seed, is because of the mere fact that they, at one point, they had a dream. You see, they had a vision. They had a seed. And they didn't take the time to grow that vision. They didn't take the time to cultivate that seed. And because of the fact that they didn't cultivate it and they didn't take the time to grow it, that dream and that seed that they had died. And so what happens is when you share your vision with them, when you share your dream with them, the very thought of you accomplishing your dream, the very thought of you accomplishing your vision is a threat to them. And it is also a reminder to them as to why they never move forward on their dream and on their vision and on their goal. And so what they've got to immediately do, they don't even realize that they're doing this. What they've got to immediately do is try to find a way to sabotage your dream and your vision, sometimes in the name of love, because they're not necessarily trying to hurt you, but they will hurt your vision. Let me help you understand that. Listen carefully. They may not necessarily be trying to hurt you, but they will hurt your seed. They will hurt your dream, and they will hurt your vision. And the reason why they do that is because by you actually pursuing this thing that you're pursuing, you are threatening the very thing that they wanted for themselves that they never acted upon. You see, when I first left corporate America, and I told some people that I was going to try to figure out what my purpose was, what my passion was, I was going to get out there and make some things happen. I had some people who, after I left, periodically would call me up and check in on me. But here's what I want you to understand, family. When they were calling and they were checking in on me, and they were saying, well, Andy, how's that thing working out for you? And when they said thing, what they meant is this dream that you have, this vision that you have, this seed that you have, how is that thing working out for you? When they were asking me that question, it wasn't really truly because they were hoping that I had massive success. It wasn't really because of the fact that they were hoping that things took off for me. What they were hoping is that when they checked in on me on how that thing was doing, was that I was going to tell them, you know what? It's a little harder than what I thought. You know what? It's not quite working out. Because as long as that was the report that I provided them, then what it would do is that it would reassure them that the fact that they didn't move forward on their goals and their dreams, the fact that they didn't move forward on their vision, the fact that they didn't continue to cultivate their seed, now they have validation for themselves that they made the right decision. Now, you better believe that even when I was struggling, even when I didn't quite have figured it out, I made sure that I protected my seed, and I made sure that I still brought a positive report, because what they were looking for was any level of insecurity. What they were looking for was any level of weakness so that they could go ahead and chop my dream down, so that they can validate to themselves why they made perfect sense by holding on to their comfort zone and not moving forward on the thing that they wanted to do. And so what I need you to understand is that sometimes you got to be willing to cover it up. You hear me? You got to cover up that thing that you're working on. Do me a favor right now in the comment section, put hashtag cover up. Listen, sometimes you got to cover it up. You know what it means by cover it up? That means you got to protect it, right? You got to be careful what you're exposing about this thing that you're working on, right? You got to be careful. Even the times when things are going tough, where you're struggling, you're still trying to figure it out, you got to find a way to bring the positive report, or just don't bring no report at all until your confidence level is where it needs to be. You got to cover this thing up. You got to protect it from the naysayers, right? From those who are going to try to tell you why it's not working. You got to keep covering this thing up until it has created some roots in the ground, until you know that it is strong enough that you can expose it. And even without your protection, it's going to be okay. And so you know when that point is, you know when you so believe in something, you know that when you have put in the time and the effort, you know when you are so committed to a vision, a goal, and a dream that it doesn't really matter what somebody says. You know that this is part of your assignment. You know that this is something that you're going to make happen. You know that you know that you know. At this point, I could tell anybody, because there's nobody in their right mind that is going to be able to talk me out of this thing, because I've had this thing in the ground. I've put in some time and some effort and some energy. I've been in the lab investing in this thing. I have clocked in some hours. I have gotten some bumps, some bruises, and some scrapes. I have literally shed some tears over this seed. And I know that this seed is now strong enough that I can expose it. And even if it's exposed, even if somebody comes and tries to say something about it, even if somebody comes and criticizes it, it is going to be all right, because I have put in the time and I have put in the energy. And I'm telling you, that becomes the time now that you can start allowing people to see the seed. That becomes the time now that you can begin to open up your mouth and share with people. You know, as a matter of fact, most time when you share things with people, it should already be a done deal. You should already know that you know that you know that this is something that is going to happen. Right? It's not something that you're considering happen. It is something that is going to happen. And so now I am sharing this with you, not to get your validation. I'm sharing this with you, not to get you to co-sign. I'm sharing this with you simply to share with you, to let you know this is something that is going down. That book is about to be written. This business that I'm about to open up right now is about to open up. This expansion that's about to take place, it is going to happen. Right? This career shift that I'm going to make, it is going to happen, right? This person that I've committed to, this is going to be my spouse, right? So because you know that you have already planned this thing, listen, I'm at the point right now where there are people who are friends and family of mine that, you know, I'm so grateful. My wife and I, we have our daughter, her name is Ava. And right now, Ava's 14 and a half months. But I realize every day when I pick up Ava and I give her a kiss and I give her a hug, I realize every day how much of a blessing it is to have Ava, because I have enough friends right now that I know that are at a season in their life where they are working on trying to have a child, and they have experienced miscarriages, and they have experienced stillborn babies. They have experienced infertility. And so as I have seen their struggle, as I have embraced them, as I have checked in on them, as we have had some real conversations, I realize every day how much of a blessing it is. And so I know for many of them, a goal, a vision, a seed that they have deep down in their heart is a desire to have a child. And so what I need you to understand is, some of them, when I talk to them, especially when they're going through the struggle, what I let them know is that, you know what? I appreciate the fact that you're sharing this with me. I appreciate the fact that you're having this vulnerability. I appreciate the fact that we're having this conversation. But I'm telling you right now, if this is still a burning desire of yours, if this is still a dream of yours, then you need to be very careful about who you share this with. Because the more people that you share this with, every time that you encounter a difficulty, the next time that you find yourself in a situation where you have a miscarriage, The next time you find yourself in a situation where you thought you were pregnant and now you're not pregnant, every time that that happens, the more people that you expose that to, the harder it is for you to deal with it, because you have so many people who are around and are seeing this thing that you're going through. And it is hard enough to go through an experience like that with just your significant other. It is hard enough to go through an experience like that with just 3 of your close friends, let alone going through a difficult time like that with a bunch of people who aren't really truly there to support you, who all know your business, who are well-intended, who are bringing it up and continue to bring up the pain and the hurt and everything that is going on. And without knowing it, those people are making the situation so difficult, almost to the point that you may not even try to continue to have a child. And so you see, when you have something that you're trying to give birth to, listen carefully. When you have something that you are trying to give birth to, understand that during the process of trying to at least have this thing become a reality, understand that during this process of at least getting it to the point where now it is a seed, where it is just this little teeny egg, getting it to that point is the most fragile, most delicate point of the entire process. And that is the time that you need to protect it the most. That is the time that not only is the seed most vulnerable, but that is the time that you are most vulnerable. And so sometimes you gotta shut your mouth, say nothing, and just continue to work on cultivating and growing the seed. That is why they tell people who get pregnant most of the time, they shouldn't even share the fact that they're pregnant till after the first trimester. The reason why they say that is because they understand that the baby has so many risks during the first trimester. There are so many things that can impose upon the pregnancy. There are so many things that can impose upon the development of the baby throughout the entire time, but specifically during the first trimester. Understand this. Stop exposing your dream and your vision during the first trimester. Let that thing develop quietly. Let that thing grow. Let that thing get some strength. Let that thing grab some nutrients. Protect it. And then once you have made it through the first trimester, then you can begin to share it with people. And then even when you share it, you need to select and choose carefully who you share it with, because in case you come across a situation or a problem, you need to make sure it's going to be people who are going to encourage you, people who are going to support you, as opposed to people who are going to try to find ways to poke holes into your dream and into your vision. And so I'm telling you this one more time. I'm going to break this down for you really slowly. Listen carefully. You probably have something that you're working on right now. This thing is your baby. I mean, you have put in some time, you put in some effort, you put in some energy. You want so bad for this thing to happen. I need you to understand that you have to come to a place where you're willing to accept that you can work on this thing without everybody around you being privy to what it is that you're working on. Sometimes you have to be perfectly fine working on this seed, working on this vision, working on this dream, while other people cannot see it and while other people cannot sign off and validate it. You got to be willing to get on your knees and continue to water it, continue to protect it, continue to nurture it, and allow it to grow. Allow it to develop some roots. Allow it to get stronger. Allow your mindset to get stronger. Allow your belief system to continue to grow. And over time, as your belief system continues to grow, as you begin to believe more in the dream and the vision, as it begins to grow, as it begins to develop some roots, eventually, and I don't know what eventually is for you. Eventually may mean this week. Eventually may mean this month. Eventually may mean another year. Guess what? I hate to tell you, eventually may mean another 5 years. Eventually may mean another 10 years. Understand that anything worth growing is worth putting in the time and protecting and nurturing, even when other people cannot see the results, even when you can't see the results. But what I'm saying to you is this: if you can continue to allow that seed to grow, if you can continue to water it and cultivate it, at some point, listen carefully, at some point, that thing is going to break through the soil. And that thing is going to develop its own strength, its own path. And there will become a point that you just simply got to get out the way, and that thing is just going to continue to grow. Not only is it going to grow, but it's going to begin to produce results. Not only is it going to produce results in your life, but then it will begin to produce results in other people's lives. But you have to be okay with that seed being momentarily covered. And so I want you right now, do me a favor, in the comment section, put hashtag cover your seed. Hashtag cover your seed. Hashtag cover your seed. And listen, if you got any kind of value from tonight's message, if what I was sharing with you was resonating with you, if you got a seed in the ground, you got something that you are currently working on, do me a favor. There is somebody that you're connected to who also has a seed in the ground. There's somebody that you're connected to who also has a dream. There's somebody that you're connected to who's also working on something right now that hasn't quite seen the results that they want. Somebody who's exposing what they're working on prematurely. And we want to protect them. We want that thing to grow. And so let's make sure that they hear this message. So do me a favor. Just make sure you hit the share button if you haven't already done so. Hit the share button. But as you're listening in right now, do me a favor. Put hashtag cover your seed. That's right, Darren. Cover your seed. That's right, Cynthia. Cover your seed. That's right, Dr. Lynn. Cover your seed. Cover your seed. I know that somebody need to hear that tonight. And I know, I have no doubt in my mind that if you continue to work on this thing, if you continue to water it, if you continue to cultivate it, that its time will come. And so I know sometimes it gets a little hard. I know sometimes it could be a little frustrating. I know sometimes it could feel so lonely. I'm going to say that one more time. I know that sometimes it can feel so lonely. Listen, sometimes when you are working on your seed, you got to work at it alone. You know, you so want other people to help you out, but sometimes you can't bring in the help until that thing begins to break through the soil. And so at the very beginning, you got to go through it alone. You got to work on it all by yourself. And that's okay. You got to accept the fact that that's okay. And don't worry, there will become a time where you're going to be able to enlist the help and the effort in other people. But because right now it is your seed, it is your vision, there is nobody else out there who's going to put in that level of commitment, that level of energy, and working on it and cultivate it. It's just like a mother that has a child in her womb. Listen, even though other people may be happy for you to know that you're pregnant, even though other people may be excited for you to know that you have a child, you got a vision, you got a dream on the way, but nobody is going to protect that child like that mother. Not even the father, not family members, nobody, you hear me, is going to protect that seed like that mother. You right now, you are the mother of your goal. You are the mother of your dream. You are the mother of the seed, and you got to be willing to work on it. You got to cultivate that thing. You got to protect that thing until it breaks the seed. And so I know that this message is for you, and I know that your time will come. And I'm telling you right now, I hope to be able to witness and see your seed break the soil. I will be rooting you along. I will be clapping my hands, and I will be rooting you along. But understand, not everybody who sees your seed break through the soil is going to be clapping and rooting you along. And you've just got to accept that. And that's why you got to cover that seed so it can have enough strength so that when it does break ground and there are people who come up there and try to hurt it, we call them haters, right? Where people who come up there and try to hurt it because your success is beginning to threaten them. You know, people who don't necessarily like the fact that your seed is beginning to break through the soil. You got to make sure that this thing is strong enough so that it can weather the storm, and so that it can weather the haters, and so that it can continue to do this thing that it is intended to do. And so let me tell you right now, I just want to thank you for spending this time with me. You are here and listening in because what I had to share with you is specifically for you. And I know that everybody who this message was intended for, they will hear this message. It will get into their hands. And so if you know that there's somebody that you're connected to that could possibly benefit from this message, do me a favor. As you sign off, just go ahead and hit the share button. Hit the share button as you sign off. And so once again, I want to thank all of you for joining me on the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational message. I truly, truly hope that you got something from tonight's message and you got some value from tonight's message. Matter of fact, I'm going to go back and read the comment section. If you got some value from tonight's message and you just want to tell me, hey, Andy, I got something from that, or if there's something specifically that you're working on, and don't remember what I said, cover that seed. Don't put out there what you're working on. But if you just want to tell me, hey, Andy, I got that. Hey, Andy, that was for me. If there's something that you want to share, just put it in the comment section. I promise you I'll go back and read it. And I appreciate you taking the time to share that with me. But once again, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in on the Thursday night Show Up for Your Life motivational message. I truly hope you got some value from tonight's message. Have a good night. I love you all. God bless. Fantastic. All right. All right, Darren, I see you. Andy, I got that. Yes, indeed. Darren, man, thank you so much for tuning in on tonight's message. I appreciate y'all so much. And of course, I'm going to sign off. Yes, yes, yes. Brandy said, I got it. I got it. I'm so glad you got it, Brandy. Yes, indeed. Donald said, you called everyone except me. I see you, Donald. My bad, my man. Hey, this message was for you. Yes, my man. Donald, thank you so much, man, for being with us tonight. Donald, I see you, my man. This message was for you, my man. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, family. Everybody have a wonderful evening. Love you all. God bless.